evening. I call this May 7th meeting of the Paducah Planning and Zoning Commission to order, and I ask that you stand with us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Benberry, Mr. Bradford.
Here.
Mr. Morrison, Ms. Shramke.
Here.
Mr. Shadle.
Here.
Mr. Wade.
Here.
Chair Casillas.
Here. Ms. Shramke, I believe you have the minutes motion.
I do. I move that the reading of the minutes for April 23rd, 2018 be waived and that the minutes of said meeting as prepared by the secretary be approved as written.
Second.
Second by Bradford. Are there any corrections? Call the roll, please.
Ms. Shramke.
Aye.
Mr. Shadle.
Aye.
Mr. Wade.
Aye.
Mr. Bradford.
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye. Our first item of business, case WAV 2018-25, the Mid-South Energy Properties, has been pulled from the agenda for tonight. They want a little more time. So we're going to move on to the second item of business. Mr. Wade, I believe you have that, the Lawrence Arnold.
Yes, I move that this commission receive and file the application of Lawrence Arnold for the approval of the enclosure of 100 square feet as a breezeway for additional food sales at 1400 and 1406 Park Avenue.
Second.
Second by Shadle.
I don't see Mr. Arnold here, but what they're wanting to do is sell ice cream in addition to the barbecue. It's my understanding they're just going to enclose that breezeway in and it's going to look exactly the same. And we really didn't have any additional problems with it. So, but since the Planning Commission did approve it last year with specific items, we needed to go back and ask for this.
Okay.
Sure.
And will this be like a drive-through thing, or will it be?
Walk up.
Walk up.
Yeah, like it is now.
And this meets all the inspection department building, or
They'll submit downstairs.
they'll do their thing.
And I'm sure the health department will come back and
Yeah.
revisit
Yes.
as well.
We're not
Right.
circumventing them in any way. Okay.
Are there any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Wade,
Aye.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Ms. Shramke,
Aye.
Mr. Shadle,
Aye.
Chair Casillas.
Aye. Mr. Bradford, I believe you have the Strawberry Hill LLC.
I move that this commission receive and file the application of Strawberry Hill LLC for the proposed re-subdivision of property located at 4780 Village Square Drive. I further move that the requested waiver of the public hearing and the dedication of the streets be given and approval of the submitted plat be granted.
Second.
Second by Wade.
This is just to establish one property line, to divide the property into two almost equal halves, and Mr. Tosh is here for any additional questions.
If I'm correct in reading this, this is the location next to the current apartments that are there. Is that correct? Or
Yes,
in connection with
apartments
them?
are actually located behind this.
That's what yeah. So it's closer to the car wash area and the paint store.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's next door to the paint store.
And it looks like they did the same thing over on the paint store side.
Towards the entrance, yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a shared entrance there to serve both properties.
Will there be any access from the other entrance to the east of the,
Not that I know of at this time.
just mainly from the shared entrance? Are there any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Bradford,
Aye.
Mr. Emke?
Aye.
Mr. Shadle?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. Mr. Shadle, you have the City of Paducah and Paducah-McCracken County Convention Center Corporation.
Yes, I do. I move that this commission receive and file the application of the City of Paducah and the Paducah-McCracken County Convention Center Corporation for the proposed re-subdivision of property located at 415 and 431 Park Avenue and 1 Executive Boulevard. I further move that the requested waiver of the public hearing and the dedication of streets be given and approval of the submitted plat be granted. Get it out there in a minute.
Second.
Second by Shramky.
This is the one that is actually going to be a plat of correction from the submitted plat. I attached the original plat in your packets as to what it looks like now. The parking for the Holiday Inn is going to change a little bit to give them a bigger area, plus give us an easement to the old showroom lounge. And Mr. Wood is here for any additional questions you may have.
I guess I would ask, what's the status of redevelopment? Is there any plan to redevelop the showroom?
I know that Cheryl has been meeting with several people over the course of the last year, honestly, as people come and go. I don't have anything solid to report on yet, but I do know she's met with
There are
developers
discussions.
that's got various levels of interest in it.
And this plat goes all the way to the Ohio River, am I correct? Over the flood wall and into the
Yes.
Ohio River?
Yes.
I don't see it on our plat, and maybe that's a correction that was made on the one that Josh was talking about, but is there an easement along here for the Greenway Trail?
There was discussion of that at one time, and we are abolishing the one that ran underneath the showroom because they decided that was not a good route to take. So we abolished that, and as far as installing a new one, they have not chosen a location for that yet.
Okay.
Mr. Bradford, I did speak with Cheryl about that a month ago, probably. The final route for that's not been decided yet, is why it's not showing up on the plat yet.
Okay, I see.
It was a little shaky having the Greenway Trail go underneath that
Yeah.
facility, so that's probably a good thing. And are there any other questions or comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Shadle?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Mr. Ampe?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. Ms. Shramky, you have the 415 Park Avenue and 710 North 6th Street, Jim Smith Contracting Company.
I move that this commission receive and file the application of Jim Smith Contracting Company, LLC, and the Paducah-McCracken County Convention Center Corporation for the proposed re-subdivision of property located at 415 Park Avenue and 710 North 6th Street. I further move that the requested waiver of the public hearing and the dedication of streets be given, and approval of the submitted plat be granted.
Second.
Second by Shadle.
This is a similar plat to what y'all have seen before. The intent of this plat is to convey some property from Jim Smith to the city to seal the flood wall with, I believe it's concrete, and also to extend the bike trail across Campbell Street.
I would like to note that on approval of these two plats, that there are some blanks on the second one here, the Midwest Terminal one, where we're going to fill in the recording of the Convention Center plat first. So there will be some slight modifications made to this after approval. just so we can record them at the same time.
Do you have comments or questions?
Yeah, like 4, 5, 7.
They should have all separate track numbers so you can deed them over.
Because I'm gonna have to draw the deeds for that.
Yes.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, each little piece of pie comes from a different entity and has a different track number. Yeah, they should have
Makes it
them
a
all.
lot simpler, yeah.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Shramky?
Aye.
Mr. Shader?
Aye.
Mr. Wade?
Aye.
Mr. Bradford?
Aye.
Chair Casillas?
Aye. That concludes our regular business tonight. We also have a board survey that we're going to be going over, talking a little bit about tonight. So we're going to take that and go kind of point by point and see if you have any input that you would like to give us. We compile this board survey.
Do you want to get signatures so they can go on, or
That's fine if you want to do that.
see them jumping over the stairs?
See how fast they can jump up. Get you gentlemen home for dinner. Thank you. All right. Here.
Oh, that's my favorite. Well, in times, it's not too bad.
All right, I'm trying to share that up with some of the
If you don't have to speak up, it's probably all good.
Is that where you have your, the night drive? Yeah. Yeah. So plug that up too?
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I don't think we ever told anybody.
Okay.
They have signage. If they don't, you can't read it.
Yes.
Back to our board survey. No, I'm happy to do it. We have, the general information at the top. They have provided us, thank you very much, Josh, with the basically what we could consider to be, I guess you would call it our mission statement, which is B in the section that they provided to us. I would say that on the second page, we are, what governs the board are ordinance, but also Kentucky Revised Statute. Bylaws also, I mean, all three of those need to be marked. And the bylaws are as needed, are changed as needed. He also provided us with a list of the board's 2017 accomplishments. I was surprised. I thought there were a few more things than what you listed, but you would be the keeper of that information, so I'm guessing that that has to be correct.
I went through agenda by agenda.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have that information that we can plug in as well, and I think you all received that. I guess the big thing, what orientation information do you currently provide new members? And as Josh sent to us, a copy of the zoning ordinance and copies of relevant KRS chapters. But the big question is, what orientation information would you like provided to new members? And I know Lorraine had said at the last meeting there was a discussion about what kind, can we require that they have some kind of training, right, before?
Statute requires it, continuing training.
Correct.
Well,
But up front, no, statute does not require.
Upfront training.
Before you can take the oath, you have to have certain training. There's no.
okay. And do we have any authority on that, or no? I mean, we go by the statute. We could not suggest that
The
something else.
statute's enabling. It's what allows us to have a planning commission or
Right.
zoning. And we've got to comply with what the state, the state's preempted the field, and then we come in and we fill in. Now, I think the city could probably, if they wanted to, come in and someone who was appointed say, okay, you've got to understand a little bit about this before. But, that would have to be by a separate ordinance to set that up. Or we might be able to do that by our bylaws.
That's what I was thinking.
But either way, I think that's okay, but it's interesting that we make some pretty important decisions here, but our decisions are rarely ever final because the city commission, which has even less educational requirements than we do, make the final decision.
Which therefore strengthens my argument of if we're going to send them to the city commission, that we do as much as we can to make sure before it gets there, to not put the burden on them, who, as you just said, has even less education requirements than we have. So my whole point last time was, and to simplify it, we take the oath, and the same evening we can vote on something.
Absolutely.
I have a problem with that.
Absolutely.
I think that there should be some sort of pre-attendance to the planning commission meetings, just to see how the procedure works, or pre-education or something, even, what is coming up before us that evening. Some sort of a pre-discussion training, something.
Yeah,
So,
see, that's another interesting thing. If they're appointed, if they're going to take the oath, generally, they haven't even looked at the agenda.
exactly. That's what I meant. They know nothing about what we're going to talk about that evening. They know nothing about the rules and the procedures that we have in place.
Ms.
So
Rinke,
if this would be some sort of correction to our bylaws or something, can we initiate that as a commission? Can we?
I think we can, because it's not in violation of any state statute.
The state statute actually requires that we have training,
It
ongoing
does.
training,
Right.
but there's no reason why we
We
couldn't.
couldn't have upfront
Go
training.
to a higher standard.
Right.
How do other locales deal with this?
I don't know. But I'll tell you what I can do. Well, I'm going to be at the bar meeting next month. And I am a member of the real estate section. And We also, I think, have a program on zoning coming up this time, so that would be a really good question to ask.
Sure would.
Years ago, when we were active in the Municipal Attorneys Association and the League of Cities Attorneys Association, those were the kind of things that we would sit around and banter around amongst all the city attorneys of Kentucky. That doesn't occur anymore, and I'm not sure why. But the Municipal Attorneys Association just kind of dissolved, and the League of Cities, they don't have a strong attorneys association, partially because I think the cities don't want to have to pay for their attorney to go to take a half day or a day seminar. So I think that's just a budget type thing.
I think that's
it's
an
an
excellent
excellent point.
suggestion, if you would be willing to address that at that meeting, bring some feedback
Yeah,
back to us.
I'll do that.
I think that's excellent.
And also something I'd like to bring up as well, is Tamara and I had talked about this as well, and we could simply add that requirement to the application process or questionnaire, put in language that says, have you attended at least 2 of the meetings for the board you're applying for? That could be a way. And Dan, I guess you would need to kind of guide and direct that, but that was a way that we had thought of.
Well, I think in addition to that, there might need to be broadened a little bit and perhaps, and be familiar with the subjects that you're voting on. Because again, you vote the same night that you're appointed, and you don't know what's coming up because you haven't even gotten an agenda.
That's right.
And there's nothing to say those 2 meetings could turn out to be 5-minute meetings with light, easy agendas.
But they might not be.
But they might not be. That's hit or miss.
That's true. And one of the things that I thought would be good to have in a packet for a new member is like a one sheet of do's and don'ts. You know, things you should do. You should review the packet. You should go and look at the site. You should, research. And the don'ts, don't get cornered by somebody wanting to give you information, instead encouraging them to come to the meeting and make their presentation there, as opposed to,
Or don't have a fact-finding meeting.
Yes.
And have a majority of the members
right,
show
and don't
up.
get all the members together for
Because, any decision from that is going to be.
It's going to be challenged for sure.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be overturned.
Probably.
Perhaps others' experience when they were appointed differed from mine, but I thought that I did get information before I was appointed because the mayor, I guess, had decided to appoint me before the first meeting, and I'd spoken with Josh and Steve at the time, and they provided me the binder that all
with all the information
new people get with the statutes and everything. And and then again, I also came in with more information than the average planning commissioner
exactly
to begin with.
Say.
But if we were to, in some way, kind of formalize the process that I went through, it could help a lot. The challenge is that nobody's really actually formally appointed until they're sworn in. So,
That's right.
But I guess if there's a candidate identified, they could be provided information prior to that first meeting, like I was, and then it'd be on their own.
Well, I mean, it's all public information. It's not.
Yeah.
There's nothing secret about it. So it's.
But at least I was able to review bylaws and kind of more familiarize myself with our local ordinances even before the first meeting. So.
I'm really quite surprised it hasn't been done before.
I am too, because it's pretty important. It's pretty comprehensive what you need to go over before you actually vote on any.
And it's one of these things of sometimes we don't know the questions to ask. Okay, I can remember way back when I was appointed, I didn't know that evening I would be voting. I didn't know what the subject was going to be. I didn't know what was being presented that evening and didn't know to ask. So, that's
So you went along with the herd and you think,
well,
is
sure.
that fair?
Well, it sounded pretty good, and it looked good.
Yes.
I mean, but I didn't know anything about it beforehand.
I guess the one limitation that we have, though, and Dan, you can probably answer this better than I can, but once somebody is actually sworn in, I don't know, I would think that we couldn't put anything in our bylaws that would prevent them from voting once sworn in.
Except if there's a conflict.
Yeah, except for conflict of interest, but we couldn't, by bylaw or ordinance, say someone sworn in is not allowed to vote until they complete this requirement.
Create a junior member.
It's almost like once sworn in, you have a right to vote.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to have the education before you're sworn in.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So.
Sometimes
Well,
you have problems.
would they have the information? Would they have the information before they were sworn in?
You should.
Okay, yeah.
So
And I think you should have the agenda
Yeah.
before you come to your
Yeah.
first meeting, too.
So for the purposes of this survey, that, what we're just discussing here becomes a goal.
Becomes a goal. It's what information would you like to provide? But it also could go in the goals section as well, that
Yes.
to do training before someone is sworn in.
But your don'ts and do's are pretty important.
I think so, too.
You know, somebody, you're going to have a public hearing and somebody's trying to take you to the woodshed and explain things to you for their sake.
Right.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Let everything come out at the hearing, and then make your decision.
Right, exactly.
I have an idea. First of all, I want to say thank you for bringing this very important topic up, because Josh and I never would have picked up on it. But I was wondering, in this day and age of videos and stuff like that, what about if we worked on maybe a training video that the appointee, prior to swearing in, would have to watch, and maybe you all could help and be part of that instruction kind of video, like maybe a 12 to 14 minute video similar to what our public information officer does, or I think she calls it My View, under My Paducah. Maybe something like that could be very helpful for people to understand what they're getting into, but also to see if they even want to do it, because you're very much on point. This is not exactly an easy thing to step into, so you might want to know what you're stepping into.
I think that's a great idea. I also think it would be a great idea to film, and it's already filmed, one of our meetings, perhaps one of a public hearing, or something like that. Show them with the nuts and bolts of actually what we do.
Great. So to that end, I guess I'd like to know if your willingness to maybe help Josh and I to figure out what points to emphasize, and maybe one or two or three of you could be the star in this training video, maybe?
I could edit the video for you.
Come on.
That sounds like a job for our council. That's what we pay him for.
I was just thinking, though, that the League of Cities may have a general film.
Ooh, that's a good
Not
idea.
just for planning commission, but
That's a very good idea.
for all hearing bodies.
That's good.
Because not just
That
the
would be
planning
excellent.
commission,
Might not
but
have to
POA
reinvent the
and
wheel.
Can you check into that for
social-
us?
Yeah, that would be excellent.
Dan, I think that may be through Kappa. What you're talking about, I think is through Kappa, the Kentucky chapter of the
Right.
American
So there you go.
Association.
Josh, can you check that for
So
us?
if they had something like that, then we could get a copy of it, and it, don't reinvent it, it's already done, it's out there.
That'd be
Because
wonderful.
there's this meeting is just it's the tree that is generally seen, but we know there's so many roots to it about the difference between the meeting and a hearing, between understanding what our scope is and the master plan and all these other things that we have to understand that most people wouldn't, particularly when you're coming on board, you don't understand all those differences. So there's a lot of pieces to it that what you're describing.
Well, it's funny you should mention that as one of those goals for 2018. One of my goals was to work on updating the comprehensive plan on a more regular basis, section by section.
Instead of just all at one time,
Right.
we do wholesale. Oh, I'd love that.
Right. And also with a special emphasis on neighborhood meetings to gather input from residents. And how could the city help the board accomplish its goals with adequate staff support? I know you would appreciate that if I put that in there.
Well, actually, neighborhood engagement is one of the priorities I've got in that we're highlighting in our actual budget.
Excellent.
How about that? Budget
Excellent.
and project together?
Yay!
Wow.
So that is one of the foundation pieces that we are going to be working on, and I really like that tie into the section by section of updating the comp plan. That just makes total sense. So you guys are filled with great ideas.
What else do we need to cover on that?
What education opportunities or topics would be helpful to current board members? I put annual seminars from the Kentucky League of Cities and regional planning seminars. Are there others? Are there, I mean, we've never, at one point we explored the opportunities of checking out videos that are available that you all can get from like the Kentucky Planning Association or from the National Planning Association. Are we interested in that? Are you all interested in that? Is that something that you would find of interest, or is it something you don't really have time for?
I've always wondered, is there anybody besides David Pike?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure there are other people. Well, and the other guy.
Yeah,
I can't even think of the other guy's name.
You've heard of him, you've heard of him.
Yeah.
I've probably heard him eight times.
Yeah. But they're getting new things. They did cover new things this time.
There's always, you have to pay attention because there's always a nugget.
Well, there was more than a nugget this time.
Wow. Sometimes there's just a nugget.
I know, but I think they've kind of listened that they need to be constantly adding new things. So.
Got a face for radio.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we've gotten in the past is the periodical, what's it called, planning?
Yeah.
Where we've just gotten it in our board packet. That's whenever I've taken the time to read that, it has been very educational. A lot of times the articles are very specific about issues in different regions, but there's often good information.
There's excellent information in there.
Planning commissioner.
Well, that's, I think, also when we've gone to the out-of-town training and we network and we hear what other cities are doing. And, I've heard things that they're addressing that I think, oh, yeah, Paducah has that, or we could do that or something. I think that's beneficial when
Well, usually those meetings aren't designed for that, and it's tough. You have to seek out those engagements. You just happen to be sitting next to somebody and engage them. A forum where you could have an open meeting would be wonderful.
I think that might be a great idea for one of those sessions, is to allow people from different not a whole planning zone commission, because again, that would be like a meeting, but people from different planning commissions or staff people even, who can share some information about what they've done. You did a great job at the last one talking about what you did in Indiana. I mean, it was obvious that they wanted somebody from the outside, who could give a little bit of information about what could happen, and that's very valuable.
I also learned at the last one that we need to integrate more with McCracken County.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That would be a goal.
Yes. That's a good one.
Years ago, we had one planning commission for Paducah and McCracken County.
Really?
When was that, Danny?
way before.
It was in the 60s.
Right.
But they had a provision in the law that took in, if the county didn't have one, the city and the county could create one. And I think it was 3 miles outside the city limits. There was some sort of an area out there reviewing that, these areas are becoming urban because they're close to the city.
Future growth potentials, you had some.
They had one, and then at some point in time, the county didn't want to have anything to do with the city, so they decided that they wanted zoning, and then they created their own.
Well, we did that comprehensive plan with the county. And then just as we were getting to the end, a new county judge executive was elected.
Yes.
And he was totally opposed to it.
Absolutely.
And threw it out the window.
He was opposed to everything city.
Right. And we had to kind of start all over again, which is really sad, because part of the basis for what a lot of people in the county, what they were upset about, was that one of the things it called for was smart growth, that you don't add things until you have the infrastructure to support it. And they wanted to be able to put anything anywhere they wanted to put it, and then demand that you run water and sewer and all of that to their project. So that was kind of where, that was where the,
After he came in, then he decided on his own, he would go back and rezone some areas.
yes, he did.
I heard
We won't
that.
talk about that, God rest his soul.
I legally heard that.
Huh?
Yeah, I think there were some issues
I
there.
think he got indicted on that.
He got a little bit of a problem over that, but, yeah. Yeah, we won't talk about that. Like I said, God rest his soul. But anyway, are there, these are great ideas, wonderful ideas. Are there more?
Well, perhaps just the issue of trying to have more friendly workings.
Yes,
the county,
interaction
with the
Cracken
county.
County
I
planning.
think that.
I think it's a goal for
long-term
sure.
goal. Perhaps
I
we
think
could
it would
have
be
more
good for
interaction with
a
the
couple
county.
of times a year for us to attend their meeting and for them
Right.
to attend
Yeah,
ours.
it's a good idea.
More interaction with the
It's a good
county.
idea.
Invitation.
Whatever we do, I think the point is very well taken, that there needs to be more cooperation, because I'm sure in the planning department, you all can attest that there's probably things that pop up on a daily basis, especially with the development along New Holt Road right now, when a developer or general citizen wouldn't know whether it's county or city just by
Right.
Sure,
looking
how
at it.
many people
My
would I
house
say,
is-
have you gotten phone calls about something the county's done and they want to complain to us?
Oh, sure.
Well, I recall a
And vice
public hearing
versa,
where
and
someone
vice
was
versa.
complaining to us about something that was going on along New Holt Road, and it turned out that that portion of the New Holt Road was county.
That's right. We didn't have anything to do
My property
with it.
connects to county, it connects to
Yeah.
city, it's across the street from county and city. Yeah, it's very confusing who owns what and what's the jurisdiction wherever, so.
Well, of course, the state government is being basically a rural-dominated legislature
Yeah.
has made it almost impossible for cities to annex. They're just, and what that's done is that has allowed, or prohibited cities to grow. I mean, and it's just not really good, but, you know, it's,
So now we have to be a micropolitan.
we do.
Well, there's a great big project of which we just added on to it tonight that was county and annexed into the city, the
Right.
apartments.
But there were residents living there.
Okay.
See, that's what you do is you.
Okay, I was gonna
it's
say
the
what's-
vote of the residents in
Okay.
the area.
Okay.
We could just solve all this by becoming a joint local government.
Well, yes, and that's been
Oh,
talked
boy,
about before.
That's really
I
a,
know, it came up for vote in 2011 or 12.
Yeah,
And
I pushed that when I was
soundly
chair of the
defeated,
chamber, and we got
unfortunately.
everybody on board, and then the county judge had more appointments than the mayor did, so he voted, he put all of his cronies in there that were against it, and the same county judge that didn't want the zoning, you know, it's just,
well, little steps at a time, maybe someday we'll accomplish all of this.
we don't want to speak ill of him. Just pass it on.
Well, I have taken down all of the input, the information, and what I'm going to do is plug it in and then send it to all of you all so that you can add anything that we've left out or that I've left out, okay? So I want to make
Thank you
sure
very
that
much.
it's a comprehensive, everybody gets their input included.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for staying tonight, and I guess we are adjourned.